Hi, thanks for watching these previews. Today is my first shot at the Aussies. Sri Lanka, Australia have a series in August. It's actually the last day of August, so let's get stuck in. I'm going to talk about the hosts first. As I mentioned, I haven't talked about Australia as yet, so I'll get to that later and have plenty to say. But just talking about Sri Lanka first, I want to have a bit of a look at their series against England and see what we make of that. It's difficult to say a batting card that was all out for 82 and 26 overs generally batted well, but I actually thought that Sri Lanka, under the circumstances and considering the opposition, batted quite well in England. Yes, there was that 82 sort of debacle, but aside from that, they made 334 for 5 in the last innings, put 400 on the board, put 479 on the board as well. So they're batting against that attack in their conditions, in England conditions. I thought that was a reasonable performance. While there was a lot of rain in that series, that obviously helped them in the 1-0 result of the 3 tests. There was enough time for England to win the other 2 tests, and Sri Lanka did a formidable job sort of holding the fort. One thing in particular that Sri Lanka will be very pleased about is who batted well. You might think, well, Sangakkara, Jayawardeneh, they're the guys you look at with Sri Lanka, but it wasn't. It was actually the 3 other guys. We looked at Dilshan, for instance, Samuel Weera, and Prasanna Jayawardeneh, the wicketkeeper. All of those 3 averaged over 50 in that series. That's a really bad sign for Australia because Jayawardeneh at home is just an absolute beast. He becomes one of the best players in the world. He averages 63.39 in Sri Lanka, has a centre rate of 5.4, scores in 44.7% of his innings. So Mahela Jayawardeneh is an absolute beast in Sri Lanka. And obviously Sangakkara with a century in that last innings, and still one of the best players in the world. If you have Dilshan and Samuel Weera playing well, and Samuel Weera, to be fair, I'm not a fan, but he has played very well for 2 or 3 years now. And indeed, you're getting runs from Prasanna Jayawardeneh. He's looking like a relevant test keeper batsman. This is a concern for Australia in a big way. I've had a reasonably good run with these previews. I haven't picked the wrong result as yet. Picked the wrong winner as yet. But I haven't made many guarantees. Test cricket's not the kind of game you throw guarantees out there. But I can pretty much guarantee Sri Lanka are going to score a lot of runs in this series. A lot of runs. Part of that is what I just talked about. Jayawardeneh is so strong at home. Good batting card that's batting pretty well, particularly the support batsman. That's one half of the equation. We'll talk about Australia's bowling, and particularly their slow bowling, in a second. So that's sort of Sri Lanka. As I say, I want to keep that relatively brief and talk about Australia primarily, and then get to my pick. Australia are a mess at the moment, frankly. Some of that's their own doing. The Kadich thing has been talked about a lot. Just a quick word on that. My understanding when he had that Achilles injury, which I think it was, in the second test of the Ashes, was that it was a big deal injury. It was like a 12 to 18 month injury. So I didn't actually think he was going to be fit to be playing. If he is fit, he should absolutely be in this team. It's just ridiculous that Phil Hughes would be ahead of him, and it's not an age thing. I know obviously Hughes has got probably 15 years on Simon Kadich, but Phil Hughes is not remotely close to being a Test class opener at this stage of his career. He played a 14-ball duck. I think it was in that England series. Apologies for not remembering exactly, but he played a 14-ball. It might have made sort of 5, and it was one of the worst 14-ball innings I've seen from a specialist batsman in a long time. He's just all over the place. He doesn't know where his head's at. His shot selection is very poor. He's a walking 1 for 10 at the moment. That's Kadich. Ponting. I'm very dismayed, if you are an Australian fan, that Ponting hasn't retired. The Ponting ride is over. It's done. And it was probably over when we saw Kemar Roach and Mohamed Amir, 2 20-year-olds, get Ponting out on the pull repeatedly, and that Ricky Ponting pull was like the shot of my generation, last 20 years or so. If he's getting out to 20-year-olds on his own pitches with a pull shot, it's not going to happen. The numbers back it up. In the last 2 years, Ponting averaging 37.86, so a 32.6 score percentage, which is reasonably good, and a 23 century rate, so he's had 2 centuries in his last 46 trips to the crease. Ponting normally would average about 5 to 7. So 23 is obviously a long way off from that. His last 6 scores are 20, 10, 1, 12, 9, and 0. Look, every batsman has bad form slumps, but this has been 2 years. He just doesn't hit centuries, which is the main reason you have him in your side, because he's not a consistent player pretty much ever in terms of just making scores a lot. And he's old, and he's played a lot of test matches, and he doesn't have his best shot. And when you look at Ponting's weaknesses, things like playing slow bowling, against Harbhajan Singh is the famous one, starting poorly, and not a great driver. They've been all mitigated in the last sort of 5 to 6 years. He's gotten better at them from say 2004, 2009. But they were never strengths, and there were a lot of holes in his game. It was based on this amazingly strong back foot game that was really dominant for a while there. And to just emphasise the point, Ponting only averages 43.04 in Asia, a place where batsmen usually go to live it up. He has 1 century in his last 19 innings there, so not expecting much from Ricky Ponting. Mitchell Johnson, always key for Australia. He saw that in Perth. When Johnson plays well, Australia have a chance to win. He's by far their best bowler. I know that there are warts, but the things he does well, he does extremely well. He averages 37.23 in age, taking 3.5 wickets a game. He's still a relevant wicket-taking threat, but 37.23 obviously not good, and he's their best bowler. Siddle's going to be, he will translate well to Asia. He bowls well with an old ball, but it's tough to expect a lot from Johnson. He's always that chance of breaking through when he bowls well. He's as good as any bowler in the world by far, but those numbers don't look particularly promising. You put that with Sri Lanka's batting card, and it doesn't look too flash. Another point: Johnson's economy rate has gone up 5 straight years, and that's got to be stopped, particularly again in Asia, where run containment is much more a part of the game than it is in Australia. The slow bowling issue is really the big issue here for Australia. It's a massive issue. You can't win in Asia without a slow bowler. You need phase to go through those overs, and the gap here couldn't be wider. Just for my thoughts on the Lion beer thing, I would have picked Nathan Horrocks. You've got to take a slow bowler, right? You can't play Croatia and Johnson in the same team because the runs will just flow like wine. Horrocks, I know, I know, but with Nathan Horrocks, at least you know someone that can bowl at say 33, 34, and can hold up an end. They're playing two guys. I have no problem with picking inexperienced guys necessarily. I don't. But their numbers need to be there at first class level, especially in Australia where their first class competition is supposed to be so good. And the numbers aren't there at first class level. There's nothing wrong with picking a 22-year-old if he's played 10 first class games and he's just killing things and he looks great. But that's not what's happening here. Just the combined numbers in first class cricket of Beer and Lyon, 43 wickets. That's all they've got between two bowlers. To give you an idea, Reganar Herat, the guy Sri Lanka's going to throw out there, has 687 first class wickets. But 43 between Beer and Lyon, they're taking it 45.14, 2.53 wickets a match. These are bad bowlers. They've done nothing at state level at all to make you think they're going to be good bowlers. Anything's possible, I suppose. But there's no reason at all to believe that they're going to be at all relevant against test class opposition, particularly a good batting card with some superstar batsmen in there on their own tracks. This is a ridiculous decision to take two guys that have got 43 wickets between them at 45.14. I can't believe these numbers. 45.14, 2.53 wickets a match. The best bowling in a match for either of them is 5 for 207. That's their best performance in a match that these guys have ever seen. This is just lambs to slaughter. Sri Lanka are going to score a lot of runs in this Test series. Just talking about Herat, 687 first class wickets at 25.03, 3.57 wickets a match. 5-10 wicket matches, 38 5-wicket innings. He's not a great player, Herat, but he's a good, solid first class cricketer that you can expect some good returns from. Australia are throwing absolute junk out there as a slow bowlers, and it's going to cost them. There's just no way they can win this series. I really strongly believe that the best case scenario for Australia here is 0-0. And their batsmen can maybe keep up. I don't know how that's happening either, frankly. Clark's a good player of slow bowling if he has a big series. Maybe Hussey has one more series in him. I don't know. But they've got a problem with the opener. I think Ricky Ponting is a wasted spot. They should have retired. Should have been dropped, frankly. Someone should have taken the initiative to push him aside. It's just necessary. They want to rebuild and they want to take gutsy decisions. Ricky Ponting's the guy they need to decide. Now I've said it, he may score a lot of runs. But Australia need runs. Big time. Because they need to get draws. Sri Lanka's bowling attack, which is young, stumbled a bit in England. That's understandable. They're not a very good bowling attack. But they're going to score so many runs. They're going to have so much time to bowl Australia out. I think they'll win the series. I think probably 2-0. Let's throw that out there in 3 tests. I think Australia's looking for a 0-0 result here. They're not going to be able to get 20 wickets with that slow bowling attack. They're just not. There's no way they can win Tests in Asia with throwing guys out there who bowl at 45 at first class level with 43 wickets. It's not going to happen. So Sri Lanka 2-0 in the 3 tests. I hope you enjoyed. I'm off for the next month because there's no Test cricket in September, no new series. But I'll be back to look at the Australia-South Africa series. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.